fat little speckled trout. Let it go. And then Jacob pulls this beautiful red out of nowhere. A little better than the last one. Now, that's a nice 4th-year speckled trout. We'd like to sincerely thank our Patreon supporters. Good morning, everyone. It's 0:30, and today we're going fishing. First actual fishing video. All right, I got the kayaks off the trailer, and they're ready to go. I'm waiting for my buddy Jacob Kelly, lifelong friend and great fisherman. Today's his birthday, so that's what this trip is all about. I'm gonna get these kayaks on the water, and hopefully he shows up as soon as I'm done. All right, we just launched. Jacob's in the other kayak over there, and this is the best time of the morning to fish, so I'm gonna shut up. We're gonna fish for an hour and a half, and then we're gonna do proper introductions. All right, so Jacob just caught a little jack. Look at these head wakes. I think there was a big school of redfish that we were creeping up on. They would follow us up slowly, but they weren't. Oof, here we go, look at them. Those are massive redfish on the flat. Wow. Got a nice mangrove snapper. Actually, that's one for the fish bag right there. These guys have to be 10 inches long. And I don't even have to measure that guy. Beautiful fish. Don't put your fingers in their mouth because they will get you. I will just slide him in the back by my cooler, and we'll transfer him to the fish bag in a minute. We'll get back to fishing while it's good here. All right, we made it through the morning rush. Only got that one nice snapper. I bumped a couple really nice fish that I missed. How'd you do, Jacob?
I got one small jack in the middle of a big school of bull redfish, and Jerry and I saw like 10 big head wakes just all disperse as soon as that jack hit the top water. So
I think those big fish cleared the flat.
Yeah.
I think they moved so much water that they literally scared everything off of that flat.
Yeah, pretty much. So we're headed on to some greener pastures.
All right, it's only gonna get better. All right, fishing the flat right here, and there is a mama manatee, and she has a tiny baby that's about to come up for air right there. Oh, and it's tiny. Look, she's sticking her whole head out of the water there. She is big. Try and paddle backwards out of here, not to disturb them. All right, this is a ladyfish. I'm gonna keep him to feed to the monitors or use for bait if I end up going night fishing soon. But next cast in that same area, got a nice speckled trout, although he is hooked really good. Gotta get this jig out. Oh man, this is the problem with living in 2 houses. My fish unhookers are at the other house. Nice fat little speckled trout. Let it go. They're great eating fish, but this area seems to have a lot of worms in them. I think from the seagrass that they sit in and ambush, they pick up a lot of worms. So I think that's why they get so big here, is because everyone releases them, because they're so wormy. I'm gonna get back to it. Probably an even better shot of him. That's a real big mom, and it has a baby with it. And there's a juvenile. That mom is massive. They're in so shallow that their backs are fully out of the water. Pretty crazy. And Jacob pulls this beautiful red out of nowhere. Now this would be our target species when we fish here, and unfortunately season is closed, or they're closed altogether here to bring the populations back. I feel like the populations are healthy. The fish are just way up in the mangroves because of the number of sharks and porpoises up here. So these fish really stay undercover. It's a beautiful fish. In the water, it almost looks gold, like a big goldfish.
Yeah, look at the sun on his back.
They typically have that one black spot on their tail. Oh, it goes. And you can see it disappeared into the water quickly. But once they get up in the flat, they'll go into 8-10 inches of water, and then they just absolutely glow, and you can see them, and it's really fun to stalk them on the flats. You got that one out of a mullet school?
Yep, he was underneath the mullet.
Awesome.
That was
All
really
right,
cool.
Back to it. Nice fish, Jacob. Yeah.
Was he in the mangroves, or was he under the mullet?
He was cruising into the mangroves. In fact, I shot at him, missed him, and he went under the mangroves, and I backpedaled and skipped it under there. Nice. And he found it.
Good stuff.
All right, another little snook. Well, normally you lip these guys, but that jig is right in the lip. A little better than the last one. Now, a couple minutes ago, I had just caught a really nice redfish, but I didn't press play correctly on the GoPro, so we missed it. And I guess if you don't film it, it didn't happen. So, I guess it's still 1-0. Jacob's beating me for reds. It is what it is. I'm gonna keep trying. All right, so we're cutting through these islands, and it gets really shallow in here. So we're even pushing our kayaks through here. There's some white ibis walking next to us. See some bait in the water. Behind me pushing his kayak. Probably a good time to really introduce Jacob. I said we've been friends for a really long time. I was friends with his parents, and I used to do some work for them, and they lived on a canal in Jupiter, and there were always big snook, big jack, everything behind the house, and I never saw Jacob fishing. And right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I said to your dad, I was like, how come Jacob's not fishing outside? There's so many big fish out there. And he's like, well, we don't fish, you know, you got to take them fishing. So we took Jacob fishing. What did you get your first day?
I think the first time I ever fished with you is with my Uncle Sean, and we got big snook. We got a couple juvenile tarpon, and it was a rainy, overcast day on the Loxahatchee River. And I still remember like the first
Spoiled him.
Yeah, first feeling of a first snook, and yeah, still addicted to this day.
A really awesome day of fishing. Yeah, so he's now a boat captain.
Yeah.
So and when we get that Wolf's World experience going on, he owns Fly Guy Fishing Charters, and he does a lot of nighttime fly fishing.
Yep.
On the dock lights in Jupiter and Stewart area, and it's really fun. If you're not into fly fishing, obviously you can use spinning or conventional tackle, But it's not hot. It's
No one's on the water.
It's a very casual time. If you know, if you guys are a couple and one of you isn't into fishing, it's still really nice on the water. It's not miserably hot. Like if you were out here and you didn't want to fish, I mean, you may enjoy the pedaling around and the sightseeing, but you will probably get hot. But that's never going to happen to you nighttime. We should stop walking because it starts getting good right here. Yeah. Sometimes there's some redfish or snook as we're starting to get into a little bit deeper water, and the bait is being pushed towards us in the current. So obviously there could be redfish or snook up there by those mangroves on that point, or really anywhere across this flat. We're gonna fish a little bit longer until the tide stops moving, and then we're probably gonna eat some lunch. All right, we got a nice speckled trout. What I feel like this area is known for. Caught that decent one earlier, but that's a nice fork pier speckled trout. They can get a hell of a lot bigger than that. That's a nice fish. All right, I got it released quickly. On to the next. And I just had one on right before that one, so there could be some more in this area. So I was saying earlier about those trout, they will sit in the weeds and the grass on the bottom and like almost ambush a bait that's swimming by. And that's why I was saying they get those parasites, because they sit, they're not cruising and swimming, they do a lot of sitting in that thick vegetation and stuff. But to catch them, you have to fan cast and really cover a lot of territory in an area, because they literally could be in a little depression on the bottom, which people always call potholes, or by a piece of structure, or just a random nice clump of grass. So once you find them, the small ones school up really well. So like when you find them, you can catch a lot of them all at once, but the bigger ones are spread out. But always fun to catch them up here. We're heading back to the dock. Come on. Nice little snook. Last minute. We've got a storm coming in from the west, so we're racing back to the dock. See if we can't get one more before we get rain. All right, it's the day after our fishing trip, and I'd say it was a pretty good day of fishing, although I have a lot to learn about making these fishing videos, different angles, running the camera time longer, and how does the camera not overheat in the Florida sun. It's not the best time of the year for flats fishing in my area. It's hyper hot, and we have some pretty strong tides. So yesterday when Jacob and I went fishing, it was a super low tide for most of the day. And had there been less wind, we could have found potholes on the flats and found the fish that were retreating to the deeper water. But we weren't really able to see that. And my third excuse, because it's all excuses when it comes to fishing, most of my tackle is still at the other house. And we confirmed this trip late in the afternoon the night before, and I rushed over here to get the kayaks ready. And then when I started getting the tackle boxes ready, I realized that most of my soft plastics were at the other house. So I kind of just used what I had, and some of my favorite baits weren't with me. But I want to go over just quickly the like baits, rigs, and tackle, it'll obviously be shorter and more fun in the future. One of the biggest things I can say about fishing and my success in fishing is I'm a problem solver. I don't just go and throw the same thing all day long. If what I'm throwing isn't working, I switch to lighter leader, different baits, faster, slower, always change it up and try new things and try and do different things. You see what your friend is doing is starting to work better than you, switch to that bait, and then variations of colors or speeds using what he's using, and you'll dial it in and you'll catch a lot of fish. I think at the end of the day, we caught 2 nice redfish, which we should have done better, but we really didn't find any more redfish other than in the first thing in the morning, we ran into that school of bull reds. They would follow the top water plugs, but not commit. And as soon as we worked into like some of the small plastics, the soft plastics, I didn't have anything big enough to really entice them. And so my little paddle tail, little 3-inch paddle tail, worked right in the middle of that school, unnoticed, and we would pick up small fish amongst them. I didn't have my camera on for my redfish. It was a really nice one. But we caught a couple nice snook, some small speckled trout, ladyfish, catfish, just that one snapper. Oh, actually, no, we caught 2 small mutton snapper at the end of the day. Don't believe they were on film. Again, I will get better at this. But let me show you what baits we were using quick. So we started off the day using top water plugs, and there's just that walk the dog action. There was a lot of bait on that flat, so we could get those big redfish. They were following these baits. Sometimes you'll give it a pause and some action like that. Sometimes they want it faster, sometimes they want it slower. So that's how we start. The general rule is, as soon as you need sunglasses in the morning, stop using top water and start using something subsurface. Really didn't happen for the top water yesterday. If I get into a situation, oh gosh, if we could have fished later when it was about to rain, those fish would have started eating top water again in the afternoon, and I bet you it would have really been good. So the next thing we switched to were flukes, which I don't have rigged on right now. Suspended twitch bait lure would do the same thing, but there were a lot of weeds in the water, so weedless was the best. And the other thing was a small paddle tail. So this is rigged with a little jig head, and you can see the bait swimming along pretty nice. On the flat, I would bounce it on the bottom. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty good. But this is what I caught the redfish on, caught the snapper on this. But this I will bounce on the bottom on the flat, especially like in the mullet schools where the redfish will be hiding. Catch a lot of fish. If there was one bait to fish on a flat, small jig head with a paddle tail. And then in the hottest part of the day, when we were moving, we switched to search baits, things that we were casting a long distance. And whether it was a gold spoon, a weedless spoon, or a bigger paddle tail. This rig looks a little tired. This is what I fished at the end of the day with. But this bait I could cast a long distance. Kind of the same action as that other paddle tail, a little brighter, bigger presence. This is what I caught the biggest trout on. Swimming a little funny. Again, the bait's a little beat up right now. But I'll make really long casts and then retrieve it at just a slow, consistent speed on the flat. And especially if I saw a sandy spot on a flat or a little deeper depression, I would try. Oh, there's our resident turtle over here checking us out. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in the middle of the day using search baits to try and find those fish. But I think one of my next videos, a buddy just invited me to go fishing snakeheads yesterday, so that could happen next week. Or I could take you doing my favorite thing, and that is fishing for snook around seawalls and docks. That's something that I have, excuse me for this, have dialed in really well. I've done it my entire life, and if I was gonna say like one thing that I have specialized in, it's this very fast reaction strike type of snook fishing, and I do really well at it. I think that's it for the fishing video. Please leave me your comments, your criticisms. I know that we have a lot to learn with this type of video. Camera angles, I mean, I don't want to watch a fish once it's on the hook. I kind of want to see the action of the lure in the water and the strike and everything. But it's hard to do when I'm fishing that many hours. Maybe I'll go fishing on a kayak with someone more experienced at filming, like Rob, Deer Meat for Dinner, and see how he approaches it, and learn from that. But I know how to fish, I just need to learn how to film it. All right, guys, until next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. See you soon.